You know, all I ever wanted to do was talk to people about the stock market. It all started with my first stock certificate that I got. General Electric. Probably one of the worst stocks I've ever bought. Back in the day, Jack Welch was their CEO, and the company went up hundreds and hundreds of percent. And then they hit a wall. And now it's pretty close to a 52-week low, new management, trying to turn it around, spin off the parts. Buffett had to bail it out in the 2009 disaster, gave him $5 billion for basically as many warrants and stock options and all kinds of crap that he could get. And basically pirated GE from GE. It's a good deal for Buffett though, and anyhow, that was GE. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to talk about stock certificates, but now, you know, I started talking to people about GE when I first started it, but they want to talk about the future, right? So they would come to my office and they'd be like, I want to talk about the future, Dave. The future is now. There's these discs, these discs that you put in computers, and the future now available to you. America Online version 3.0 for Windows, 1993 to 96 version. Hook up to a world of fun and excitement. It's fast, just 3 easy steps and you're online. Free 15 hours, unlimited usage, $40 value. Who wouldn't want this? Do you remember that? I remember those squeaks and those squalls and people connecting online, and then the ding, you've got mail. That was the first addictive part of being online, folks. Facebook's got nothing on us for all the complaints about Facebook and them stealing data, or people that work with Facebook stealing data and sending it to nefarious people and influencing elections. It all started with this daggum modem sound. And no, your cat wasn't dying. It was just you logging on to the World Wide Web. Well, from there, you know, everybody started coming in, and you know, we had a correction, right, after AOL, and AOL pretty much almost bit the dust, eventually sold out. During the correction, though, the one thing we could talk to people about was the fact that it didn't matter what happened to the stock market. You still had to go to the store every single day, and you had to buy some toothpaste, and you had to buy some Head and Shoulders for those of you with dandruff, and you had to buy some Dawn detergent, right, because you got to wash those dishes, and everyone needs Bounty paper towels. Well, the whole idea here, folks, was these are all brands that are owned by Procter & Gamble. So the whole thought is that Procter & Gamble puts these in a Walmart every day, and Procter & Gamble may not be a big growth story, but the thing is, it's got a dividend, it's consistent, and when the markets collapse, everybody still has to go to Walmart and buy their Procter & Gamble products, and Procter & Gamble is going to get paid one way or the other, and they're going to stay in business. So they're not going to be like this or WorldCom or any of those companies and go out of business, right? And hopefully they're not going to be like General Electric and be a stock from the past. You know, you're going to use these every single day. So we started talking to people way back about how these are the everyday products that could be safe things to put in your portfolio in times of market stress and financial, you know, ruin and the economy doing terrible. But you guys didn't want that, right? You want to talk about the future. And no, it didn't. This wasn't the future. This was the future. Starbucks. The first Starbucks opened in Pike Place Market in my hometown of Seattle. It's kind of cool. I've been there a few times. My dad, let me tell you how old my dad is. My dad is so old that he has an original Starbucks card, like membership card for the Starbucks Coffee Club from the Starbucks in Pike Place. And let me tell you another fun thing about my dad. Even though he's got now like the app so he can swipe it everywhere he goes, he'll still pull out that old Starbucks card and show the baristas like they care, right? His Starbucks card from Pike Place Market. So it doesn't matter if he's in Arizona or St. Augustine or North Carolina or Cincinnati Airport. He'll pull it out and be like, I've got the original. You don't. It's kind of like an early edition of a Pokemon card, right? For 70-year-olds. So, Starbucks coffee. And my, how that's changed. Now, we don't even have to go to Starbucks. We can go to Walmart, right? And we can get breakfast pods. That's what we use at our office. So you didn't want Crest toothpaste, you didn't want tried and true, you wanted something that was expanding, you wanted Starbucks, right? So we had talked to you about the next big thing. So way back when, we did own some Starbucks until they hit an expansion problem in the US where basically so many people were going into their stores that the queue lines got so long that they couldn't get enough orders fast enough, so their same store sales numbers started to go down. And then they brought on this online app that you could order on your iPhone, right, with the idea that you can just order it and pick it up at the store, which sounded great. But for the first 6 months of them doing that, that was a complete cluster. Because people would show up at the store and they're like, "Are you Joe?" And you're like, "No, I'm Jim." You know, "Are you Ashley?" "No, I'm Ashard." You know, whatever. I mean, people couldn't get it straight. Baristas were crazy. It was awful. And then they've had some, bad PR too lately. But they're doing some racial training over that. So, racial awareness. Yeah. Talking about things we're aware of. Then you didn't want that, right? You kept coming into my office and you said, "Oh, Dave, the future is Nike," right? So I had to buy some shoes to do some research. I think I did write them off. And back then I got a gym membership, though it didn't happen. I think I gained 100 pounds during that research on Nike while I was drinking Starbucks. But the point is Nike was the future. So Phil Knight, everyone bought Nike. And then this little company came out called Under Armour. And I use it working out all the time. It's been a great growing company, but then they simply expanded way too fast. And when they expanded way too fast, the stock came plummeting down and we got stopped out of it in our portfolios and still made money from when we first bought it, but just not a good thing. Now, maybe they'll come back someday, but for right now, Nike's the perennial brand. Now, going back to Starbucks, at first the whole idea of Starbucks was ready to go, basically caffeine drug, right? Standard coffee, but just better than standard coffee. Or if you're a coffee snob, you might say, well, it's not better than my coffee shop that gets, Ecuadorian beans from a mountain in a rainforest. I totally get that, but we're talking about Starbucks here. So at least it's tried and true no matter where you go. But then some of you were like, I can't get enough Starbucks. So you started coming in and asking us, well, what about Mio Energy? I mean, it's got no calories and caffeine. So, as a soccer mom, it beats the heck out of Adderall, Dave. I can just take this and keep my high and keep going all day long and keep those kids in the van and boom, 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 boom. Next thing, I'm good. I won't crash, But then the problem is then you run out of electrolytes. So then you get companies like Gatorade, like Propel, right? So you got to start using those Propel. So then now suddenly you're drinking coffee in the morning, you're taking Mio in the afternoon, you're taking Propel to keep your electrolytes in, brushing your teeth with Crest, using your Head and Shoulders for the dandruff, and washing the dishes with Dawn, only to get up at the next morning and use the breakfast blend pods just to get you back to the Starbucks. So then, so lately, it's all been fitness, right? People went Nike, Under Armour, working out, breakfast, lots of energy, right? So the next thing people start asking me about, what about health foods, Dave? What kind of health foods? So, and that was a great idea until Amazon freaking messed that up because they bought Whole Foods. So now Whole Foods, which is the healthiest food out there, right, is now tainted by Amazon, by the evil, dark planet, that if it puts its eye on any sector, whether it's retail with Kohl's or whether it's healthcare and drugs or whatever sector it decides to go into, look out, Betty bar the door, that sector is dead, right? So Whole Foods, Amazon, bought Whole Foods. They're going to make them distribution points or something. They're going to discount the Whole Foods items, and they continue to almost weekly discount certain items to compete against Myers and Kroger and Aldi and all those different companies out there in the grocery Publix down in Florida. But just to drive them out of business, drive margins lower, get more business from Amazon so that they can raise Amazon Prime rates, which they of course just did. And of course we all can't say no because we're addicted to our Amazon Prime, because who actually wants to go into a regular store anymore? Nobody wants to actually go into a regular store. Everybody wants to go on they couldn't have gone on that one, but they want to get on an iPad, they want to get on an iPhone, they want to they want to order something. And so some of the things they order, like, I mean, I can get on Amazon, and I just ordered, you know, because I'm a financial planner, I sit at a desk and I take a stress ball and I go like this all day long, you know, because people are calling, they're asking questions, they're like, oh, I don't know, think. Okay, here we go. And then, you know, put the stress ball back down. But in my spare time, I eat StarKist tuna, right? Try to keep my frame, keep in shape, but get plenty of protein, which is really weird though, because it's called chicken of the sea. And I know people have talked about this before, so this isn't the first time, but I just always wonder, why is it called chicken of the sea? Because there's no chicken in here. And I'm not necessarily so sure it even comes from a sea or an ocean. But that's for another day. Anyhow, you can track these pouches, which is kind of cool to see actually where the fish came from. I mean, I find that to be like really good. Like this one is from Ecuador and this one's from Colombia. I'm not sure. They're in the same packet, well, pretty close, like side by side on the grocery shelf in Richmond Road Kroger's. But you can also get them on Amazon. I can also order raw almonds, right? This is another thing. So we're now all about, you know, good fats, not bad fats, no cholesterol, no sodium, right? No carbs, all protein. So protein, no carbs. Drink coffee, take Mio to keep you up, better than Adderall. Propel to keep the electrolytes, wash your hair, brush your teeth, order from Amazon, stress ball, dial up AOL. And then what do you do while you're trying to fall asleep? Well, now the kids are playing these Nintendo Wiis, right? This is the next thing that everybody started asking me about. They're like, what about Nintendo stock, Dave? And I was like, I don't know, it's not traded in the US. And they're like, well, can't we just buy it overseas? And I'm like, you can, but there's no auditing really of international companies like the US, right? It's not like we've had Enron go belly up, right? And WorldCom, those were like the two biggest like scams outside of like Bernie Madoff, right? And I mean, in the 20 years that I've been doing this. But if you think about that, you can only name 2 or 3 companies or people in the entire investment world in the US, major corporations, whereas international, I mean, there's like thousands over that same time period because there's just no accounting rules to the same degree or a level of trust that the US has. So despite all our problems, we still are there's still a lot of fairness in the system in how the stock market works and how companies are evaluated, which protects you, the investor. But this Nintendo, everybody's like, Dave, the Nintendo Switch is going to be the next big thing. So I was like looking at it. So like NVIDIA makes the chips. It's a chip company that goes actually into the switches. There's companies that make the screens for it. These switches are really cool. They're little teeny things. And of all things, I mean, it's amazing that in like 25 years, we've gone from this, right, which just connected you to the world wide web of fun and excitement, mucho party, to this, which now allows you to be Mario Kart Deluxe 8, not 1, version 8. And I'm not really sure, honestly, why my children aren't happy with version 1 still, because I remember playing it, and it was pretty cool back in my day. But version 8 is now the cool thing. But all this computing in this one chip, absolutely amazing. So a few of you bought Nintendo. I totally missed the boat on that. I said, nah, I don't think it's going to do well. I mean, you got PlayStation, you got Xbox, all this. Nintendo Switch has been a great winner. So kind of missed that. Along the way, though, we also had these other things. We got into these little things. I don't know if you remember, but some of you came back to me way back and told me about this guy, Steve Jobs. And I'll be honest, I didn't hit it at the bottom. I wish I had. I didn't hit it till a long time, till it was multi-billion company. But some of you bought like a few thousand shares. Like went back when a few thousand shares just cost like, $2, $3, $4 a share. It wasn't much money, and you've turned that into big chunks of money. So the idea, of course, is that now, because of the success of this iPod that then turned into a bigger iPod, that then got smaller and turned into a little iThing, that then got into an iPad, that then got into a much bigger iPad, that now is into an iPhone X, which has like more computing power than anything on this table. Because that worked out, you think you can put $4,000 into marijuana stocks and make your next fortune. And I'll be honest, I don't get it. But I also didn't get this when it first started, right? I thought, who's going to walk around and play music in their ears all day? Guilty. In fact, music drives my life now. It's crazy. I mean, you can set the mood, you set the tone of everything you do through music. So maybe the marijuana stocks you want to buy won't go up in flames. Poof. Sorry. And in a cloud of smoke, right? But maybe they'll do fine. You'll make fortunes, whether it's grow houses, whether it's distribution sites, right? Whether it's gummy bears or candy or whatever companies you're looking to buy into. Maybe they'll do real well. Maybe they'll turn out like this. But at the same time, I have a feeling it may end up being more like this at the end of the day, where, yeah, it was a great idea, and it was an idea that did get adopted, and maybe eventually all the states passed it, and just because they're like, we don't want to really regulate this that much, let's not make it a crime, let's just let it go, let's make it a tax income that we can pass on for maybe funding teachers, right? The teacher's pension or something. But so in other words, the idea will work. I mean, everybody's using this now. It's just they're not really using AOL anymore. There's so many other iterations of it. And so just because they were the first early adopter, there was no real amazing wall that they built up around themselves, you know, that made them a brand that you just couldn't get away from. And by that, I mean a brand you can't get away from. I mean, if you got your Head and Shoulders, or if you're a Crest user, especially these 3D white, you know, Keurig, the coffee makers with the pods. But then to go to Starbucks, that's a brand within a brand. And Amazon Box, you can see a FedEx guy driving down the street with it, or a UPS guy, or US Postal Service, right? You got apparently a raw deal from FedEx or Amazon, but good deal for Jeff Bezos. You see that box going down, you know who that's from. Or if you see one of these, remember these? This is crazy. This is way back when. This is kind of the iteration of this to this, but the difference is, when Netflix first started and they started sending these around, I remember when they're first driving Blockbuster out of business, and people were like, and there's a lot of people out there probably don't even remember going into a video store and actually looking through the beta and the VHS tapes, right? And like, I remember like picking out like Herbie Goes Bananas and Jungle Book and, you know, Porky's Revenge, you know, as I was getting older, you know, but maybe actually I've been 12, maybe try to sneak that in there. But anyhow, I remember picking all those out, and I think, I mean, that was fun going to a video store, right? And then all of a sudden, like, it became Blockbuster, and then you start going to Blockbuster, and you got a membership card just like a gym, and you're going there every week, getting your pizza, getting your Blockbuster, pizza joint next door, having fun, you know, in the winter or whatever. And then suddenly this thing called Netflix started, and they started sending these DVDs through the mail, and everybody's like, that will never work. And you know, it's funny, they still send these DVDs through mail, and they still get a lot of business through it. But what's happened is, as all this stuff is taken off, right, these iPads and Macs and computing and linking everything to your home and smart TVs, now everybody can get online, you know, and use Netflix. And Netflix has now gotten to the point of not just replaying Disney movies like they used to. They don't do that anymore, right? They lost that deal for much of the catalog, but what they can do now is they can do their own original content. And so Netflix as a company is just kicking tail and gaining users. In fact, there was a recent analyst group that did a study of 1,000, just a cold study of 1,000 people that said they use Netflix, and they simply said, if Netflix raised their price from $10.99 to $15.99 a month, how many of you would basically keep it? And resounding, it was 80%. So think about that. What company in the world, like if Procter & Gamble, you know, raised the price of your Dawn by 50%, and maybe you're in there and there's like a non-Dawn kickoff, or you're at the dollar store and you're like, well, I can get the non-Dawn version for like 99 cents, but this is going to be $4.20. I mean, is that going to make a difference? Possibly, right? What if Starbucks simply said, hey, by the way, the $5 or $6 you're paying us for this cup of coffee is not enough. We're going to charge you $8 or $9 for the cup of coffee. Now, I know some of you that are addicted to it would probably still buy it, but some of you might hit a price point where you're like, I can't do that, you know? But the thing is with Netflix, you know, that's a product that it doesn't matter what they raise, and it's such a small amount of money on a monthly basis right now that if they go from $10.99 to $15.99, 50% in their margins, it's going to make a huge difference to their bottom line in what they can produce and what they can return to shareholders and stock buybacks, maybe even start to pay a dividend down the road as they mature, right? There's very few companies that have that pricing control. Speaking of companies that have that pricing control, Apple's one of those, right? Whether it was here or here or here or here or here, every single version of this, I mean, it's funny to think about this. This one, I remember when I bought this iPad, this one I believe was $5.99 back in the day, right? This one when I got it, I think was $99, and this is a brand new one, but it was like an add-on. They're like, if you're buying an iPhone X, you can just get a new one for $99. That's insane, you know? And this iPhone X, right? It's a, I don't know, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 phone with everything put on it, right? Loaded up. And the first iPhone I thought was expensive when I spent $200 or $300 on it. But now you're like, I can't get away from this. This is part of my life. We had a conversation the other day. Is it easier to lose your wallet or your phone? And the overwhelming consensus of the group we were talking about is much easier to lose the wallet. I actually did the other day. It took me about an hour and a half to replace everything in it, only to find the wallet. But it's a good Chinese fire drill. So here's what it is. But the point is, losing your phone, I mean, with all the, hands-free functions and passwords and all the stuff you put in here, could be very detrimental. Take a lot longer to get rid of. So Apple continues to raise their products and their prices on their products because it's something that everybody needs and uses. So this is the world that I now live in. It's all these products, and it's not just the stocks, it's the stories of how people use these stocks. That's the fun part about my job, coming into work every day and seeing not only the past, right, the General Electrics, but also the current, the Nikes, the Starbucks brands that are kind of more mature brands, the up and coming brands. I mean, Apple's still maturing as a company, right? These are mature, Nintendo, who knows what they're going to do, right? Mio Energy, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll come out with a new thing for soccer moms. Like double Mio, triple Mio. I don't know what the next is for them. But the point of this is that the fun part about the equity markets, the stock markets, it's just like little Michael and his dinosaurs, right? He loves each of those, and he loves the stories with each of those. And what I love about each of the stocks that we invest in, each of the companies that we analyze, each of the companies that we've owned over the years, even if we don't own them now, is I love all those unique stories that come with them. I love getting to know the products. Love getting to understand what they actually do for people and how people use them and how they're going to grow. And to me, that's the most fun part about my job, with financial planning and with investments. And I look forward to sharing that with you.